Welcome, everyone, to the One More Game podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jeremy Culver, a.k.a. Darcy, and with me is the California Thirst Quencher, Pete Legia. Pete, how you doing, man?
Were you like under the sea or something just now? It sounded like you were like trying to like talk underwater. What the hell was that?
So obviously, those that are listening to this now on the podcast services, you're gonna totally find out now what's been going on. The reason that opening was a little bit rougher the way that it was is because Pete and I, who are recording it over here live on youtube.com/pressstart28, which you can join in live when we go do the recording. And we found out after about, I don't know, 10 minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes that the computer just dropped out Pete's audio from the beginning. And so Pete was doing all these talking about his game, about moving, no pants, all this jazz. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, there's no audio. So this is technically part 2 of our opening. And I just find it hilarious that normally when we've had to do these part 2s, if we did have to do them, we were, not doing it live. So it was able to be like, oh yeah, we did it for the first time. But we have witnesses in chat that this is not the first time that we're recording this. So that's why I was chuckling. But how are you doing now, Pete?
Still got no pants on, just like the last time that we talked, which was like 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. I'm doing okay. Did some housework. The roomies started a little bit before they, a couple of them went on a job up in NorCal, like over in the Bay Area, and another one went camping. So I've had the house to myself. Just called it No Pennsylvania. It's been great. When I've not been at work at random hours doing Hawaii high school sporting events. And then today I had finally my one day off this week. Did some housework, get some stuff done. I got some laundry going right now, and that's kind of where we're at.
Nice. And I know in chat, people are saying, hey, Pete, what were you talking about last time we were recording? Well, you got to hold on when we get to what we've been playing lately. You'll hear what Pete was talking about. Yeah, we can't spoil our segments early there, Cobalt. But we are going to get to that here in a little bit. But of course, yeah. So this is a later recording than we normally do. As I was saying in the previous recording, that because if you haven't been here for our last episode, I moved and I also started a new job. So right now, Pete and I are kind of like in the middle of figuring out timing of what works best for our recordings. And obviously with Pete working in television and working various random hours, our recording times are going to be all over the place for a little while. So we'll figure it out. We'll get all these things down. But of course, if you want to know when we go live, make sure you're following us over on our socials at PressStart28 on Twitter, at PressStartGamers over on Facebook, at PressStart28 over on Instagram. And those are the main ones, basically. Outside of here at YouTube, which is at PressStart28. But everybody, let's get into the show where we were just talking about things. So everybody, welcome to the One More Game podcast. This is a podcast that is centered around making sure you're informed about all the video game news happening around the world, whether it is Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation, or PC. If there's news that you need to know about, we'll make sure that you know about it. When you're listening to this on your podcast service, make sure you hit the subscribe button or the follow button, depending on what your service offers. And if your podcast service allows reviews, please leave a 5-star review and tell everyone why you love the One More Game podcast, because we really enjoy bringing this to you each and every week. We're obviously recording this on Thursday, so I'm not going to say Friday like I normally do. But if you want to be part of the show by asking a question or suggesting a topic for discussion, head on over to pressstartnews.net/onemorgame and fill out that submission form, and your submission could be used on the next episode. Or you could join us in chat over here on youtube.com/presssstart28, where we will reference it as it comes up, as we've already been referencing Cobalt for helping us figure out that there was a mic input issue that was going on after I hit go live. So that was real fun. But everybody, if this is your first time to the podcast, welcome to the podcast. I hope you enjoy your listen and I hope you enjoy your stay. But if you are returning, you already know what it is. We start off every single podcast talking about what we've been playing lately. So Pete, for the second time, what have you been playing lately?
So I'm playing this cool card game. It's a deck builder game that just had its global release about a week and a half ago, called Marvel Snap. If you ever thought about what it was like to have teams of between the Lizard, Mr. Fantastic, and Doctor Strange, or Jessica Jones and Spider-Man, both of all of them, Miles Morales, whatever, and Carnage. This is a game for you. It's available on Steam and iOS and Android. It's free to play. You can obviously spend money on it. I guess not obviously, but you can spend money on it to like help build your collection and things like that. Or you can just grind, like just playing games and completing missions to build your collection. The developers are Newverse, which has done a bunch of mobile games like One Piece Blood Roads and Figure Story. Also developed by Second Dinner Studios Inc., which was founded by Ben Brode, one of the masterminds behind Hearthstone back in its early days, which has been, around for what, like 8-10 years now. So, like I said, it's also published by Newverse. It's had its global release about a week and a half ago. I've had a lot of fun playing it. One of my things that I've really enjoyed is, Jeremy, you probably played a lot of like ladder type games where you're trying to like actually grind and like actually get to the next level plateau or whatever. So you sometimes, especially at least for me, I try to like do the best thing because that's typically the most successful thing. Like I do that when I do MTG Arena when I'm trying to grind for Mythic. But this one, I've just been having fun, just trying to find what characters and cards combinations work with each other. Some characters like boost each other up for having specific type of effects. Others, they just are really powerful on their own, that kind of thing. So I've been having fun just kind of being a deck builder. It's been really sweet. A couple cons for it. Steam, it's a little suspect when it runs. The game itself, when you're in a match and the collection aspect is pretty okay. But when you're looking at the news or when you're going through like the main page where it kind of like filters through like several different topics, it's definitely clearly a game that's made for mobile at that point. Sometimes like that when the things transitions to slide, it kind of like stops like in mid transition, like between two different screens. And when I went and looked earlier on the Steam to look at the news section that tells you like kind of like the upcoming updates and stuff like that, it actually wouldn't even show you what it would show me what news was on there, and then I checked on the iOS and it did. So that was kind of interesting. Another thing is the more you play, the card economy kind of gets harder to build your collection. So the way you kind of build your collection in the game is they give you daily missions. They also give you missions for whatever event's going on. Right now, it's a Miles Morales Carnage kind of event. And you can level up each of your cards, and each card has several different versions of it. Like there's like a pixel version or like a more like a comic book looking version, as opposed to like the regular, just like kind of like cartoon-ish kind of versions that like you'd see in like a cartoon made for today. And you kind of level them up, and that builds up your collection rank, your collection level. But the way to do that is you have like credits and like what they call boosters to level up each card. And as I played more and more over the past week, it's gotten harder and harder to actually build up the collection that way without spending money, which I mean, it's a free to play game, so they want you to spend money. But so that part's been kind of like a little bit frustrating. But to start out, it gives you some powerful cards. It gives you some powerful synergies. So if you're really into like just a deck building thing, you want to try something new. The games are really short. They're only 6 turns between it. You have like 3 lanes, and you have to win 2 of the 3 lanes basically by having the most power built up on 2 of the lanes. And when you win, you build up your get some extra experience points versus if you just play a game. So yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with that. I mean, I'm obviously a card player at heart. I play a lot of them, so it's more of an affinity for me. But this is probably one of the more fun ones I've had, especially since it's so quick, it's so easy. Like if you're at work, you take a short break and you just like you could fire it up and play like a game in like 3 minutes. That's the whole calling card of the thing. It's like, oh, you can play this like so quick, and just like, you get bored for a second, and you're have like 5 minute thing when you just have some free time. So that part's been really interesting.
Yeah, I've been enjoying what I've played of Marvel Snap. Marvel Snap is one of the games that I've played this week. I haven't played like a ton of it, just because of timing and trying to do some things, of course, still for the house. But yeah. I love the fact that it is only 6 rounds, and I also have loved the fact that for me, because we've had this discussion before. I really enjoy card games, but I am not what I would call a card game player, where like I like getting the cards, I like playing card games, but I'm not like the card collector and the person who really likes to try to figure out like, oh, what's the best cards to use for this, like what's the best cards out there, and like I want to spend the money to get the cards. Like I want to buy a deck. Like obviously I just picked up a piece of paper for our audio listeners, but I want to buy a deck and just start playing and like play the game. Yeah, like I want to play the game, right? And so like I'm not about to do all the other things, and that's what I've really liked about Marvel Snap is like I can just play the game, and I can worry about my side of the board. Like, yes, it's still trying to figure out how do I make my power level higher than the others, but I'm not worrying about, oh, well, Pete, you just set down a face down card. That could be a trap card. And if I play a card, now you've just taken my life points, and like I'm now blasted into, the Shadow Realm because I'm Bakura, or something of that nature. And for those that don't know, I'm making a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh references now. But that has been one of the things that I do like. And I have loved the alternate card models of the various
the variants.
The variants of the Marvel characters. I found out from a friend that one of the creators or one of the artists is one of the people who worked on Teen Titan Go.
Oh, sick.
So
that's awesome.
That's why, like, some of those, like the one that I have that sticks out to me is like Hulk and Hawkeye. Like they look like Teen Titan Go characters, and I was like, oh, that makes sense when my friend was like, oh yeah, that's why. So I do like that. I could easily see the card economy aspect that you talked about, and I do want to just give you credit when you said like obviously you can spend money. It's a free to play game. It is. Anyone knows obviously you can spend money now to play those. So,
but I mean,
so I'll pat you on the back on that one.
I don't like saying obviously when it's just like, well, it's obvious to me. Well, that doesn't mean it's obvious to everybody else. So I mean, but
in today's world, I think it is.
It could be, yeah. It definitely seems like that. I did find an article earlier written by Ryan Dinsdale from IGN. I know we're kind of like jumping off the thing, but just a heads up, if you're kind of questioning like whether or not you're kind of looking to jump in, I mean, the game's been super successful. It's earned $2 million in its first week worldwide. It's had like over 5 million downloads, like so between iOS and Android. So a lot of people have been looking into this. So, if you're had an idea to try a card game, maybe give this one a shot. Like Jeremy said, it's pretty easy to start up, and it doesn't take a whole lot of time. Like obviously, if you want to get better at it, you got to keep like playing it and build your collection. But the cool thing too, from what I've heard, is that the way the game works when it's matchmaking, it kind of like matches people with a similar rank of your collection. That's why they have the collection level. So like you're theoretically, if you're actually trying to grind to get like to higher ranks and you're like at collection level 50, you're not going to be facing like somebody that like has all the cards and has like a super powerful deck and that kind of thing. So that part seems really cool too.
To answer a question in chat, Cobalt had said, how hard is it to get new cards? So far for me, I would say it's fairly easy because of, as you were just describing, that card collection aspect. As you keep getting card collections, and that's like, part of it is like the card collection, you get a bonus every time you upgrade a card. And upgrading a card, especially early, is fairly easy. Sometimes it's just like, oh, it breaks they call it frame break, but it's like, oh, and now it breaks out of the frame and shows like more of their arm than before. That would give you like a +1 to your card collection, and as you build those up, there's basically like almost like a leveling tier, so to speak, from that, and you get some free cards through that
Yeah,
aspect.
they give you a pretty decent collection to start out. But yeah, like I've gotten kind of you'd say addicted to it. I've been playing a lot, and definitely like the last day and a half or 2 days or so, it's been a little harder because I've run low on credits specifically. But I mean that I still have a really sizable collection already, so it's more just like kind of like a bummer I'm not getting like the last few cards that maybe I would like to try building a new deck with. So, but like building like your first or second like decently powerful deck, like it's not really that difficult at all, honestly.
Yeah, I think they've done a fairly good job personally from a casual jump in standpoint. That I think you can have a lot of fun with it, and then of course from there you can decide, do I want to spend more money into this? Do I want to just continue playing it free to play? Do I enjoy it enough to continue diving into this game? Like, it's all that, but it's a fairly good easy one to jump into.
Anything else you've been playing, Jeremy?
Yeah, so I actually wanted to talk real quick about this one, and I was in the first Descendants beta. So I did stream it for like 30 minutes the other night, trying to just get back into streaming some things with after the move. But the first Descendants, I don't remember exactly what the name of the studio is that made it, but it is being published or coming from the Nexon team. And so those that might be like, wait, Nexon, they also do make controllers, and obviously publish a number of various other things. I think they were the publisher behind Steel Rising and Greedfall, if I remember correctly, but I could be wrong. I really enjoyed the first Descendant beta. Now, for those that don't know anything about it, it's kind of basically like Destiny 2, but with more of like a Call of Duty skin on it. So like it has like, it's not grounded in like this fantasy, like supernatural, so to speak, stuff like Destiny 2 is, but it does have this futuristic, or not futuristic, this like super powered people aspect from there. Cobalt gives a good example. It's like Destiny 2 meets Warframe kind of aspect, but it's like for me, it's like with regular people. So it's a an ongoing world, PvE type environments that you go out, do quests, level up your character, get gear, things of that nature. Each character that you have has multiple guns that they can equip, and then those guns can have, I think if I remember correctly, they're called runes, but they can have rune attachments to those guns that changes how the gun acts, and then of course your character can also have runes attached to them. The game opens up and you can choose between 3 Descendants. I don't remember exactly what the other 2 were. I think one of them's like almost like a tank, and then the other one is more of like a straight like assault shooter type person. I chose the female Descendant, who has basically mage like aspect, so she can shoot ice out of her as like one of her abilities, and also like set down like an ice trap below her. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really smooth. I had a lot of fun with it. I could really see myself pouring a lot of hours into this. The game is absolutely gorgeous. If anyone, you go look up the trailers, that'll stand out to you. The game is gorgeous in trailers, and it's gorgeous in the gameplay as well. I know that I saw on Twitter, though, like a number of people in the beta did have issues. I didn't play it enough, I think, to come across any issues. It was fairly smooth to me. I never had any bugs that caused any problems. But if you do look up on Twitter, you just like type in First Descendant, you'll see some people had some various bugs that were going on. But of course, it's a beta, so kind of expected. So yeah. For me, in my perspective, I think the game would be fairly close to coming out. So like, I would think that I know it's supposed to be next year, if I remember correctly, that it's coming out, but I don't think they've put like a timeline like early 2023 or late 2023.
I just looked, sorry to cut you off. I just looked on Steam and it just said release date coming soon. I already just added it to my wish list. Going back to your comments about obviously it's a beta test, so they're trying to work out the kinks. Cobalt in our chat says there were some issues, but devs seemed pretty that they encountered rather, and but the devs seemed pretty quick to fix them. So yeah, I mean, it looks like they're really on top of things, so that's really good to hear, especially like they're trying to push this game off the ground.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. It's definitely one that when it does come out, I'll be pouring some time into to see if it's a long-term game for me. But yeah, unfortunately that beta is over, so I can't play it anymore.
Womp womp. I was
Yeah.
actually looking to see if I could hop in, but nope, no such
Nope.
luck.
Nope. Is no luck there. But everybody, we have been talking about what we've been playing lately for quite a bit. So let's get to our gaming catalog because we have lots of things to talk about when it comes to Xbox and Xbox Game Pass. Also, CD Projekt Red is remaking the old original Witcher, and 2 studio heads are leaving Rocksteady Studio. That's all coming up here on the One More Game podcast. But let's get into our main title, and that is Xbox Game Pass growth is exploding and slowing, as well as there could be a price increase heading down the road. So we're going to Video Games Chronicle for this article written by Jordan Midler, and we're starting with the first one. This is, of course, again, multiple parts here, but we're talking about the Xbox Game Pass growth is slowing down on console, claiming by Phil Spencer. However, the service has grown significantly on PC. And it goes as follows. Xbox Game Pass growth on console is slowing down, according to Microsoft's head of gaming, Phil Spencer. Speaking at Wall Street Journal Tech Live, which was transcribed by The Verge, Spencer said that while the company is seeing the PC version of Game Pass experience incredible growth, the console side of the business is starting to slow. Quote, I've seen growth slow down, mainly because at some point you've reached everybody on console that wants to subscribe. As of January 2022, Game Pass has over 25 million subscribers, according to Microsoft. The company recently claimed as part of the UK's investigation into its proposed Activision acquisition that it has an install base of 63 million consoles. In the same interview, Spencer claimed that Xbox Game Pass is 10 to 15% of its overall revenue and that the service is profitable for the company. The head of gaming also suggested that Xbox consoles, games, and subscriptions may increase in price in the future, but both Microsoft and PlayStation have in the past said they don't believe subscriptions will ever be the dominant model in video games. It says here, basically in this talk that PC Game Pass subscriptions has increased 159% year over year, and with cloud gaming, we're transforming how games are distributed, played, and viewed. More than 20 million people have used the service to stream games to date, and it was reported earlier this month that the service generated around $2.9 billion in revenue just on console in last year alone. Pete, before I go over to our other article, what do you think about that? That obviously there is a slowdown when it comes to consoles, but there's a huge growth going on in PC.
I mean, kind of makes sense in the console standpoint. I'm not 100% positive how long Game Pass has been out, but I believe it's been since at least the pandemic started, right? Somewhere around there,
yeah, it's been out for a few years even prior to that. I think Game Pass originally launched in 2018 or 2019 at this point.
Yeah, so I figured it was even before that. But PC, I think there's a lot more people that have not had access to it that maybe weren't thinking oh, maybe this thing wasn't for me, but then maybe in some kind of ad or something like that, they saw that oh, hey, there's this game I actually want to play, but instead of buying it, I can pay the $10 or $15 a month or whatever and just have access to it and finish it, and kind of almost renting it kind of thing. And then you see a couple other games. So I mean, it's kind of expected. I'm pretty sure the PC Game Pass also hasn't been out just as long at all as the console one. I'm
correct.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain. So I mean, they just have more access that way as well. So that's not really that surprising. I mean, eventually you're going to hit a wall with the the article says it says eventually everybody that on console that's going to want it is going to have already bought it, and you're probably reaching that plateau already. So kind of a bummer, because then they're gonna start looking well, how else can we make money off of this? But I mean, we've talked about before how this is already kind of a really good deal for for people that have even only a couple of games on the Game Pass that they want to try out. I mean, I still have I even went and bought Nier Automata, which I would have never actually probably went out of my way to buy, just because it's always usually $40-$50. But I got to try it and it enticed me enough to buy it. And I haven't really gone back to play it yet. I got to go back and try to beat it. But just playing a awesome game like that, that's all it took to hook me. And oh yeah, I got to keep playing this thing.
fantastic game. I've made mention before. Nier Automata,
Yeah.
so good. But yeah, I mean, it's just like with anything, right? You're always going to eventually hit a plateau. So hearing that the console is hitting a plateau in a sense, it's slowing down. That's completely understandable. Also, you know, obviously the Xbox Series consoles are selling well, but still, you know, people are still having issues when it comes to trying to get like the Series X. It's nowhere near as bad as it is with PlayStation still. But like, you know, I know that there are still some people that are struggling getting the Series X. Not everyone wants the Series S, and there's been the controversy around the Series S, of course, as well. But with PC, as you were right, I think PC Game Pass launched in 2019, if I remember correctly. So that is still fairly newer. Game Pass itself, the regular version, that launched in 2017. So it's been around for 5 years at this point. And so, yeah, it's gonna make sense on that regard. Also, of course, there are more games that are being launched on Xbox Game Pass PC as well. Whereas before, like, you know, in the old model, it was like, oh, some games are on console and some games are on PC. Now that they're both basically linked together, and when they're launching, they're both on Xbox Game Pass console and PC. Those that get on PC now have some incentives to just get the PC version or whatever. That's gonna kind of happen, and it's exactly leads into my next part, is what you just said. Is sometimes once you hit that growth, you're like, okay, well, how else do I make money? Well, the next part of this is in that same interview, Phil Spencer hinted that, of course, game prices, subscription prices, console prices could all be increasing. So he talked about the question and basically discussed the console's price point, as well as the prospect of charging $70 for games, something most third-party publishers and rival PlayStation are now doing. And he said, quote, I think at some point we'll have to raise the prices on certain things, but going into the holiday, we thought it was important to maintain the prices. We've held price on our console, we've held price on games and our subscription. I don't think we'll be able to do that forever. I do think at some point we'll have to raise some prices on certain things. Now, in August, citing the challenges of the global pandemic and the economic environment, Sony raised the PS5 prices in Europe, Japan, and parts of North America. And then following Sony's announcement, the UK arms of both Microsoft and Nintendo told VGC that they weren't currently planning to raise console prices. So, Pete, I guess, you said at some point they're going to have to think of, like, how else do I make money? I guess, how do you feel about the kind of wish-washy answer there from Phil Spencer about the prospect of eventually possibly raising prices?
Well, it's a corporate company answer. I mean, they're gonna try to be as they're gonna be trying to be as vague as possible. I do honestly want to say I kind of like this better than the way that PlayStation just kind of like opened up one day, so like, hey, we're raising prices of all the PS5s without like, I mean, obviously they're saying like, hey, it's coming up, but it like kind of didn't really give any leeway, and I think that's almost what generated this response, in a sense, to be kind of like, hey, this is a thing that's probably going to happen, but we're at least not going to do it for this holiday season, which kind of makes me wonder it's probably going to be like, maybe for first quarter fiscal year of next year, fiscal year, which would be like circa April or May, somewhere around there, I would assume. I mean, I was going over like, so I don't know what you want to say are the comps for these, but like, it's kind of, we discussed before, like, this is a really good bargain. We're in comparison to some of these other opportunities. Like, you look at PlayStation, I would say that probably just the regular Game Pass is comparable to like probably PlayStation Plus Extra, and that's like $14.99 a month, and this is $9.99 a month. If you're getting the Ultimate version, that's $14.99 a month, but that's probably closer to like what PlayStation Plus Premium would be, and that's $17.99 a month. So, I mean, I already said that in 2021 alone, that on console solely, this made $2.9 billion, and some people would not would drop the service if it was like they jumped the price up to like $15 in a month or whatever, probably. But also there'd be a lot of people who are like, yeah, this is still worth $15 a month, or if they jump it up to, and if they decide to only jump it up a couple of bucks, like $12 or $13, like even a lot of those people. So they could get it for like 10 $10 a month, $15 a month or whatever, depending on Ultimate or Game Pass, and they up that like a couple of dollars, like all of a sudden that 2.9 billion, all of a sudden you're looking at 4 billion, 5 billion, who knows? And that's not even looking at the PC aspect, which they're still growing on that front too. So there's a lot of money to be made on that front. And uh, like you were saying in just a few minutes ago, now that the plateau's hit, they got to find another way to make money. So this is probably the most forward way to do it. Honestly, I'm surprised that they think they only get like 10 to 15% of their video game profits or whatever from Game Pass. That seems like kind of low, honestly.
I don't know. I think like it's important to note is that while Game Pass is a great bargain, and I completely, and I've said it multiple times on here, like if you don't have a lot of money and you're trying to figure out how do I utilize my money well for being able to be a gamer, I think Game Pass is the way to go. Look, like you're going to get a lot of value out of it. However, at the end of the day, you still don't own the games, right? So the moment that you drop off the service, you no longer can play those games. And some people don't like that. How many times do you have people like, maybe you don't do it as much now, Pete, but like how many times have we talked about in the past, right, of saying like, oh man, like I went back and revisited this game that I bought from years ago, right, or like replayed through Final Fantasy 9 as you were talking about, not long ago and stuff. Like for some people, you're gonna have to go resubscribe to it, which again, value-wise could end up being good for you, or maybe the game is no longer on Game Pass, so now you have to go out and buy it, and it may not be on sale, at the time, so you spent, in a sense, $15 at when you first played it, plus now the additional cost that you paid for it after. And so I think that there's still a lot of people who just prefer to own the game. And Game Pass is more of a supplemental aspect. I'm very similar in nature. I like Game Pass, and I should say I love Game Pass, and I really like PlayStation Plus. But I still buy, like, I know this game is not on Game Pass, but I'm holding up the Dealfield Chronicle. I still buy the games because, like, I want to own the games. I also want to play them, but I want to own them, right? I don't want to just wait for it to eventually drop onto a service. So I think that what he's saying there is truthful. Now, would they want it to be a higher percentage? Would they want it, of course, to continue growing and being money? Of course. I think at the end of the day, they would probably love it to be more of like close to 50%, where they were getting a lot of their money from the subscription service. Because if you think about it, that means there's a lot of people each month that's getting things, and you're supplemented by, and I saw you give the face for our audio listeners, and I'm going to just give the quick explanation. Because think of it this way. While there is still a variable that you have to play into a factor of, if you knew that someone was paying $15 each month for an entire year, would you choose that versus the possibility, or I shouldn't say the possibility, would you choose that where you got a consistent $15 a month where you can plan out how to utilize that $15 a month, or would you rather get a $50 purchase at the beginning of the year, maybe a $20 purchase in the middle of the year, and a console potential purchase at the end of the year, where it's like that money is more inconsistent coming at random points, where the other version is you get a consistent, you know exactly how much money's coming in each time. And that's why I say I think at some point, I think Microsoft would want it to be 50%, because then they have a consistent money that they know every month is coming in that they can utilize for negotiating the next Game Pass deal, negotiating, development projects for their own studios and stuff. Not saying they want it at 50% or higher. I think they would just want it closer to 50%.
Yeah, closer than what it is now, for sure. I was more just thinking of like, well, if that was at 50%, that probably means that their sales and like other stuff is probably like dropping a lot, and so it kind of might not even out, even if they are getting the 10 or $15 a month or whatever on the regular. So I don't know. I mean, you're probably right though. I mean, just lock that stuff in. So
Yeah, and it could. I mean, obviously, as you said, the other side of that coin is as it drop or gets closer to 50%, it could exactly mean that is that money that they're getting elsewhere is just dwindling. But I'm thinking that they would just like growth to continue happening for Game Pass. And then the last thing I just wanted to say before we move on, I honestly don't see this any different personally than what Sony did. It's just that basically Sony had to react to whatever the global economic was doing that to their business that made them do the increase, whereas Microsoft, as we've talked before, has way deeper pockets and can wait it out a little bit longer than Sony can. And so I think that this is just kind of, again, similar nature of just being like, hey, it's likely happening to us too, because there were a lot of people on social media that were basically burning the wood at the feet of Sony, saying, how could you do this to consumers? Look at what Nintendo and Xbox are doing. They're not raising prices. And now Xbox is basically saying, like, we could be on that same journey here too. So
it turns out a $1 trillion company can wait out a global economic crisis a little longer than a $1 million or $1 billion company.
just a little bit longer. Let's go to the next article here. This is something that I was actually surprised about and excited for, which is CD Projekt Red announces a remake of The Witcher in Unreal Engine 5. This is coming from Joe Scrubbles over at IGN, and CD Projekt Red has announced that it will remake The Witcher in Unreal Engine 5 alongside developer Fool's Theory. This is one of the 5 new games that the company announced earlier this month and previously went by the codename Canis Majoris. This will be a true remake, with the company saying it will be rebuilt from the ground up in Unreal Engine 5 and is in early stages of development. And I remember they're basically said, we want to do this right, so please be patient. It's going to be a while before we can share any details on this. Basically, The Witcher, of course, is all where it started for CD Projekt Red. It was the first game we made ever, and it was a big moment for us then, going back to this place and remaking the game for the next generation of gamers to experience. Just feels as big, if not bigger, said Adam Badowski, head studio of CD Projekt Red, in an announcement post. And collaborating with Fool's Theory on the project is just as exciting, as some of the people there have been previously involved in the Witcher games. They know the source material well, they know how much gamers have been looking forward to seeing the remake happen, and they know how to make incredible and ambitious games. And although it will take some time before we're ready to share more about it, I know it will be worth the wait. So, Pete, obviously, there's a whole lot of people that have never played the original Witcher game, let alone possibly play Witcher 2. Witcher 3, of course, blew up in popularity. Are you excited for potentially getting to see the origin story of the Witcher video games?
So I haven't actually played any of the Witcher games. The closest I got to was I played Gwent very, very briefly, the card game that was a spin-off of that. But yeah, I'd be super excited. I'm one of those people that drops down the rabbit hole when given the opportunity of just going into TV tropes and wikis and just online. Like, when something interests me, I just want to learn a lot about it, whether it's like an anime or a manga or a video game or a TV show or whatever. I'm one of the things I do. Like, I know a lot of people I don't want spoilers. I don't want spoilers. I don't want spoilers. I don't really care about being spoiled. I just want to know as much as I can as possible. So when I really get interested in something, I really dive into trying to find everything about it. And it's just remaking these games that are classics is just really cool. It helps you dive into the game's the origin story, like you said. And it's you get to see how the game was originally created, and this is going to be really interesting. Remaking it basically from the ground up, they said, through the Unreal Engine 5, which we saw demonstrated pretty significantly earlier this year. I believe it was released for developers in April of this year, and it's being used a lot for a lot of different projects. And it's going to be really cool seeing this game being redeveloped. Who knows how long it's going to take, especially if it's going to be from the ground up. So that part's going to, they even said in the article, or they said in their announcement, yeah, don't ask us because we're going to be for a while.
Yeah, if it's anything like anything like Cyberpunk 2077, it's gonna be years. It's gonna be a long time.
But it's this gives the Witcher 3 explosion. This gives a lot of people like, well, where did all this come from? Like, I don't have access to like all this information besides going online and stuff, or buying the. I think it's based off of some novel,
It
like a
is.
series of like six or
Yes.
seven novels or something like that. So, being able to play the game and seeing where the story begins is always really cool, really interesting in a lot of cases. I just went back a while ago and started playing Halo from like the beginning. I didn't really to like the most recent stuff. I had kind of stopped in the middle of Halo 4. I kind of lost interest. But being able to experience that game, even like it wasn't even remade from the ground up, you could just see like, okay, this is how it all started, and it kind of regenerated emotions and feelings from when I played originally. And you also, being older or whatever, you get to experience it in a different way, and that's one of the cooler things. When you go back and watch even like some like Disney movies or something like that, when you're an adult and you miss some things that like not only are just like maybe not even just being crude jokes, being like, oh hey, this references something that happens later. I missed that. I didn't realize that was a thing. And just little things like that, like things that you, or even just playing, like you played, just replaying a game that you played before, like, oh, hey, this thing that happened that maybe before I kind of just blew off, wasn't paying attention, or didn't make sense to me, playing through it again, now that I know like the whole story, like, oh, that makes a lot more sense and where it comes from. So there's a lot of positives besides just the, nostalgia hook, and plus like, hey, you know how you like really what you're for? Well, this is where it all began. Here you go. Another cool thing about this, I think you touched on it, but they released this announcement on the 15-year anniversary exactly, October 26th, 2022, from the original game, which was the 26th, October 26th, 2007. So that was a really cool little like thing that they. So I think they've been thinking about this for a little bit, but yeah, I mean, they're building this from the ground up, especially if Unreal Engine was only available for developers, like maybe CD Projekt Red was like in and helping on the beta and stuff like that with Epic Games or whatever. But I mean, they probably haven't been able to do a whole lot of work on it yet, even if they're already just saying like, "Hey, this isn't coming out soon."
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's going to just take a while because CD Projekt Red really does take a lot of time. They pour a lot of time and effort and energy into not just the game, but like the world around it. I mean, Cyberpunk 2077 obviously had issues, and as you know, I've made mention, I'm not afraid to say it. I was not a huge fan of Cyberpunk 2077. I still need to go back and like try to give it another chance. I know I am a monster, but I would like to, like, basically it still does. They try to make the world feel like it's alive and it's not just there as a backdrop. But I'm excited for this because I had seen the original Witcher. I had never played it. I know there's an enhanced version of it, but again, this game still came out in 2007. It's likely not super, modern feeling. Is probably very clunky. At the time, it was probably very awesome. Of course, there's so many games back at that time frame that I thought was awesome that now I'm like, yeah, this doesn't feel as good as it did back in 2007. Yeah, but the game that like. I think it will be great because of the fact exactly the Witcher 3 was so popular, so many people loved it, and it is a beloved game that like I think a lot of people probably want to get that experience of what the original Witcher is like. And I mean, IGN, for instance, even put it here, and they do this in their articles, but like at the time they gave it an 8.5 review and said it's a game that you'll remember for well over the years. And they talk about that while it was less refined, it set the tone with a huge amount of lore and the tone aspects of the systems that made what ended up being Witcher 3. And I'll never forget in college when The Witcher 2 came out, my best friend, you know him, Cody, we were in college together, and he bought this gaming laptop, this Alienware laptop, because he wanted to have a gaming computer and a computer for college, but two, he wanted to play The Witcher 2, which like just released not too long ago, and he got it and he booted it up, and the computer could not handle the game. Like it just struggled. And I will like never forget that. So like that was like my first experience into the Witcher world, was his not very playable Witcher 2 experience. And so like it's one of those things where it's like I would love to finally like get to see like what The Witcher was like and what Witcher 2 is like. I'm a huge fan of remakes. I know that there's a lot of people who get very up in arms about no new ideas and stuff, but like, I'm a huge fan of remakes because it's exactly what you kind of talked about, is like being able to experience these worlds or these stories and these things in a modern setting with modern mechanics and all that jazz. Like, I just love it, and it allows you to do new things with it. Now, I have also said here on the podcast, while I love Final Fantasy VII Remake, I wish they didn't move the story as much as they did, but it still is like that. If you play Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1 and you go back and play Final Fantasy VII, they feel, while similar, totally different games. And that's kind of the aspect that I love with remakes, is being able to like experience these games that, again, going back to play The Witcher 1, I'm sure it feels so clunky that people would not be leaving it with an enjoyable experience. But a remake version of that, they'll probably be leaving with a really good experience with it. And that's important to note. And Cobalt said, yeah, that sucks. Yeah, my friend was not happy, obviously, after he spent the money on that computer. So we're going to move on to our next article here, coming from Polygon, written by Toussaint Egan, and it is Rocksteady studio heads leave and Suicide Squad is nearly finished. And it goes as follows. Rocksteady co-founders and studio heads Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker will be leaving the company at the end of this year, Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment president David Haddad announced in a letter published on the Rocksteady Studios website on Wednesday. With Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League nearly finished, they have both decided to leave Rocksteady at the end of 2022 and will begin a new adventure in gaming, Haddad wrote in the post. We have the utmost respect and gratitude for Jamie and Sefton and wish them all the best in their new endeavor, and like many fans, we look forward to what they do next. Now, in light of the news, Haddad announced that founding member Nathan Berlow will become the studio director at the company, while production director Darius Sadakian will be promoted to studio production director. In addition to Haddad, the letter also included comments from Hill and Walker, as well as Berlow and Sadakian, emphasizing their pride in their respective work at Rocksteady Studios and their excitement for the future. From the day we founded the company in 2004 all the way to today, Rocksteady has been our life and soul, Hill and Walker wrote. It has given us the opportunity to do what we love most, make great games with exceptionally talented people. We're so proud of the team here for all the games that we've made together, from our first game, Urban Chaos, to the much-loved Arkham series, and now the epic Suicide Squad. Now, those that don't remember, Suicide Squad was originally announced back at I think it was like 2005, or no, it was announced as early, or development dates I should say, was as early as July 2010. Then it was supposed to come out this year, but then was basically delayed to next year. So Pete, how do you feel about the news of the studio heads leaving, but Suicide Squad is nearly finished?
I mean, artists in general like to try new things. I mean, when you're at any job for like 15 plus years, that's a long time to be there. And sometimes you just want to get a fresh start and do something different. And when you think you accomplish everything you could at one place, you want to go on and move somewhere else and maybe start your own thing. Kind of like we were talking about with Marvel Snap and Ben Brode. Left Blizzard and Hearthstone to go kind of start his own thing, and been working on this Marvel Snap for like the last 4 years. I don't know if this will be connected, but the article does mention allegations of sexism and harassment from an article by The Guardian. There was 10 signatories for a letter that were were claiming that they needed to take care of some issues of conduct within the company. And one of the a couple of years later, one of the signatories released, wouldn't ask for a name anonymous, like basically reported to The Guardian. I will clarify that Rocksteady Games came out with what they say is an unsolicited letter from seven other signatories out of the 10. So one signatory went to The Guardian. 7 signatories who were still working at the company sent another letter, unsolicited, according to Rocksteady, that basically says this article does not speak for us. We think they were doing a lot better of a job. So, who knows exactly which way to lean on that one. Like I said, they claim it's unsolicited and it's not. So I don't know if that's connected. If it is, it's really kind of a bummer, because we've seen a lot of this stuff happening from time and time again and wishes to stop. But taking it at face value, which is, they were just like, hey, we've done everything we can here. We did the Arkham series. We're working on this game. We want to leave on a high note. We think this game's going to be great. And we'd like to just step out, kind of like right off in the sunset after you win the world championship, win the Super Bowl or whatever. So, assuming that is the reason, I mean, like, hey, I totally understand and totally respect it. You just like go on and do other things. Like I said, especially when a lot of these people are artists. They aren't in it to make a lot of money. Obviously, they want to make a lot of money, but they're in it because they want to make games. Like the statement says, like they made great games and they want to continue to make great games. And that's the thing that they are most happy about and most proud of while being with the team at Rocksteady Studios.
Yeah, and obviously, as you said, we're not going to know if this is on the heels of that, allegations that came out in 2020. Obviously, we're in 2022 now, but there's ramifications that do trickle from those kind of things as they move forward. Obviously, if they're ready to go do some other things, if it is just amicably leaving, like you said, kind of riding off to the sunset, then good luck with whatever it is that they end up doing next. I know it says that they're going to do something, in gaming, but what does that mean? That doesn't necessarily mean a new studio. That could be a number of various things off of that. But on the side note, and I know it's not, they're not the same studio, so it's not a direct comparison, but I do think a lot of people are probably looking at Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League and really wondering, is this going to be better than Gotham Knights? Because Gotham Knights, a lot of people were excited about the prospect of that game, but then as the marketing kept rolling out, as more info kept coming out, there was a lot more like, what is going on with this game? And then it released and not good reviews and not received very well. The performance issue on console, the fact that there's no performance mode and it's locked at 30 FPS. They dropped the last gen version, so you can't blame last gen. I think that there's gonna be a large number of people, whether it's warranted or not, that are kind of gonna look at Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League and go, Can this game live up to the Arkham series, the Arkham games that people are beloved by? Can it recapture that? Is DC going to get a good entry, to kick off 2023 or whatever part of the year, or are we going to have another Gotham Knights situation? And that's kind of maybe they're leaving because they know they can avoid that kind of conversation.
Maybe they just don't want to deal with it. Hopefully that's not the case. I was kind of bummed when I saw all the negative reviews for Gotham Knights. I was really looking forward to actually giving that one a shot. So, hopefully Suicide Squad is not this new Suicide Squad game is a little better.
Yeah, and I want to reference what Cobalt just said in our chat, because it's important to keep this in mind. Remember, reviews are always a personal player's opinion, whether they're a journalist or not. That's their opinion on the game. So negative reviews does not necessarily mean you won't have fun. And like Cobalt said, while there's been a lot of negative reviews, just about everyone that they've watched play the game is enjoying it quite a bit, and that's great. And I have seen, of course, some people enjoying it as well. I admittedly have not been enamored by the Gotham Knights game, so I wasn't super looking forward to it, but I may eventually check it out. And obviously, Pete, I'm sure if you had an opportunity or if the price was right, you would try it out and see how it goes, see if it actually gets you. But it does, as always, negative reviews do not make you feel good about throwing that money at it when it's full price. So that's always the tough part of it. Sure. Due to timing, we're going to quickly go through our next two articles, and that is Discord chat integration integration is finally coming to PS5. Well, maybe soon. Discord voice integration. This is an article, by GameSpot, coming from Grace Benfell. Discord voice integration with PlayStation 5 is on the way, though it looks like similar integration will not be coming to PS4. A Twitter user found and posted evidence of PS5 Discord integration, including a join voice on PlayStation button and 2 permission screens for enabling the PlayStation to integrate with Discord. However, it's pointed out, of course, that the integration is only seeming to be on PS5 and not on PS4. On PS4, all you can show is what games you've been playing. So basically, this implementation is similar to what Discord integration with Xbox, which launched in 2022 of September, I should say. As of then, Discord allows players to connect and chat with other Discord users right from the console. The primary difference with the upcoming PlayStation integration is that Xbox voice integration works with every version of Xbox, even the Xbox One. So, Pete, are you excited, one, for voice integration finally coming to PlayStation? And then, two, what do you feel about the lack of that ability on PS4?
I'm excited. Discord is great. We're using it as a call right now to record our podcast, as we have been for, since this thing started. It's really useful. I would probably just use it normally. I don't think I would really use it in integration for the consoles, but maybe I could be convinced otherwise. So I don't think it really affects me, but other people I know much rather just use a voice chat like in the game system itself while they're playing the game, so be able to chat with them. So that part's really cool. It doesn't really surprise me. I think they're slowly starting to sunset PS4, so why add more features to a thing that might entice people to buy the PS4 when they've already, in Japan, they've already discontinued making basically all the models except slim version, and they've only really promised a 3-year support plan for PS4 outside of that in other markets. So, and that was in January 2021. So we're almost hitting the second year of that 3-year, or we're almost at the end of the second year of that 3-year support plan. So I assume they're going to sunset PS4 within the next couple of years, which, why add something like this to that when it's not going to really be supported after much longer?
Yeah, I'm actually really excited for this integration, and it sounds weird off of that, but like I have for years been wanting this option because for myself, and it's not as much now because like times have changed and stuff, but like I have a number of friends who basically like solely play on PlayStation, and there are a number of times where I would just want to be in voice chat and talk with them, but the game that I wanted to play was on PC, and like I'm like, man, I would love to be able to just chat with them. And I always thought the option would be that PlayStation would release their voice chat as an app on PC that I could just open up and then connect with it, right? But it never did. And there's a version on the phone that you could do it with, but not on chat or on PC. So I've been really looking forward to this, and then now it will allow me, like when I do want to have like jump on a voice chat with a friend, but I'm on PlayStation or I'm on the PC and they're on the opposite, we can still talk and chat and like have a game session together without even having to play the same game. So like I'm really looking forward to it. Secondly, I agree with you. I think it's like part of it is sunsetting the PS4, but I do wonder how much of it is just the fact that the PlayStation's voice chat system may be just incompatible on the PS4. It might have worked obviously for PS4 to PS5 because you can chat, to there, but maybe it doesn't work going to Discord as well, whereas Xbox has had this integration with their voice chat system that even works on their PC. So like, if you're on Xbox One, you can join Xbox chat on PC and chat with people, or vice, on Xbox Series. So I wonder how much of that just comes down to integration of the software that was used for their original chat system. So I'm not surprised by it, but obviously I hope it comes sooner rather than later. And the last thing that I want to just talk about is, of course, PlayStation Plus games for November have been announced, and I'm just using the IGN article by Ryan Dinsdale just to have as reference. But the 3 games that people on PlayStation will be able to download is Nioh 2, Lego Harry Potter Collection, and Heavenly Bodies. The Nioh 2 version is the PS4 and PS5 version. Lego Harry Potter Collection is the PS4 version, and Heavenly Bodies, if I remember correctly, is also the PS4, PS5 version. So, Pete, I don't know if you've even booted up your PlayStation stuff yet, but what do you think about the offerings for this month's PlayStation Plus games?
Yeah, I could take them or leave them. I probably wouldn't mind trying Neo too. But
Such a good
in
game.
general, in general, I've been kind of like hit or miss on Souls like kind of games, like this one might be. So, or this one sounds like it is. So I don't know about that. The other ones I kind of. I'm not gonna lie. I know you and your wife are big Harry Potter fans, especially your wife. I've been kind of hit or miss with Harry Potter for a long time, and that's not even to talk about not even talking about the author. Just in general, when I got to the sixth book, I've never actually finished reading the seventh book. I mentioned earlier I do just Scrooge McDuck dives into deep dives into TV tropes, like it's a big money pit and whatever. And stuff like that, and that's where I got most of my information for the seventh book, like Wikipedias and stuff. I started reading, and I was just like, I can't anymore.
Yeah,
I just like I got more and more aggravated with Harry Potter as the main character as the character itself. It's just like it's the reason I don't really care for Attack on Titan. I'm gonna be honest. Spoiler alert, people that watch anime, I know there's a lot of fans that listen to this. I know there's a lot of fans of Attack on Titan. I can't stand Eren Yeager. Can't stand him. He's the most annoying character by far. I've only watched season 1. I couldn't get past it. And Harry Potter, the more books I read, I just, so I'm kind of hit or miss on that. And the puzzle game of Heavenly Bodies seems kind of interesting, but I don't know. None of these like really grab onto me, like latch onto me, if you know what I mean. So
yeah. Well, I already own the Lego Harry Potter games and Neo 2. Now, to correction, I am not a huge Harry Potter fan. I enjoyed Harry Potter, but I, like you, have never. I didn't even finish the sixth book.
I was able to get through that.
I got close. I hit a point in high school. Like the way that I always describe it is, I used to read a ton, but I hit a point in high school where like I just literally was like, I don't want to read anymore, and so like I quit reading books, and like part of that was like in the middle. There's different. All right, this video games is different. But yeah. Anyway, going back to this, Neo 2 is an awesome game, absolutely phenomenal. I have it. I already own it, but I totally love that this is an offering. And then of course, like the Lego games are always a lot of fun. The Heavenly Body games, I'm very hit and miss on that one. So like I'm okay on that one. But it's always important to remember that these are the PlayStation Plus PlayStation Plus Essentials and above games. Mid-month is when the games that are on the extra and premium tiers will get announced. So there will be more games that get added to the subscription service aspects of it. But for the PlayStation Plus games that you can receive, I think Neo 2 especially being on here is a phenomenal choice because it's a really good game. When can players download these games? Well, you can download those on Wednesday, which I think is November 1st, or November Tuesday, November 1st. That's a good.
Did they actually announce it? Because in the article, they only know when the last month's games are done. I assumed it was.
Yeah, it's all 3 games will be made available at no extra cost on November 1st. The last it's always the Tuesday of the month, but sometimes it can be very weird because it can be like the November like 7th and stuff. It's strange, but yeah, those you can download those on November 1st. But if you want to buy some games before then, or possibly other games outside of those essential games, I'm going to tell you all what's coming up this week when it comes to video game releases, and it starts with Friday, October 28th. We have Bayonetta 3 for Switch, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Live by the Sword Tactics for Xbox One and Switch, Resident Evil Reverse for PS4, Xbox One, and PC, Resident Evil Village for Switch and Mac, Resident Evil Village Winter's Expansion for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Monday, October 31st, you have Insomnis for Switch, Necroboy Path to Evil Ship for PC, and The Unliving for PC. On Thursday, November 3rd, you have Endling Extinction is Forever for PS5 and Xbox Series, How to Say Goodbye for Switch, PC, Mac, iOS, and Android, The Chance for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC, The Entropy Center for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and PC, WRC Generations for PS5, Xbox Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Die by the Blade for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. From Space for PC and Switch. And then Friday, November 4th, you have Demon Throttle for Switch, Harvestella for Switch and PC, It Takes Two for Switch, and Eterna Noctis for Switch. Pete, any of these catching your attention?
I can't believe it's already almost fucking November. Jesus. I was actually freaking out because I thought you were trying to mess with me with all these like horror games. I was like, oh, is this Halloween? You're just trying to mess with me. You know I don't like horror. I was like, you jerk. But then I got into like reviewing like the second half, and I was like, okay, this is actually not bad. The three that I'm looking at this time are The Unliving for PC. Comes out Monday the 31st. I thought that one looked kind of interesting as an RPG. The Entropy Center kind of gives me a lot of it's a puzzle game. It gives me a lot of God, I can't Portal vibes. Jesus Christ. It gives me a lot of Portal vibes. That looks really cool. And It Takes Two. It was actually seemed like a pretty interesting tag team. I don't know if I call it a platformer game. I guess it's more like a platformer puzzle game, but that looked kind of interesting, kind of watching the previews for that. Now, Eterna Noctis, but I don't want to throw on another Metroidvania game. I feel like I do that way too often, so I wanted to go something different, but I also was looking at that one.
Well, if you don't have, of course, Xbox Game Pass like we talked earlier, which It Takes Two is on there. It Takes Two on Switch likely is going to be a great option. For myself, though, I was kind of looking at this list. Obviously, I'll skip Friday because we talked about it on last week's episode. Outside of the Entropy Center, because I really liked that reveal at the Future Games Show that was hosted by Games Radar, I'm really only looking at Harvestella. I've been really excited for this game. This is basically like the Animal Crossing meets Rune Factory meets big budget for a Square Enix game, and the demo that's out for Switch, I've played. I haven't played a ton of it, but I've played a bit of it, and I've enjoyed it so far. And so it kind of has solidified that my already excitement for what that game was going to be. So I'm curious how it reviews. I'm really looking forward to it. Cobalt, though, said that he tried the demo and could not get into it. So, I mean, I think it's going to be just like with any of those, harvesting type games, the farming simulator type games. It's going to be whether that aspect is your cup of tea or not. But I think it looks good. I've enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time with Animal Crossing. I've enjoyed my time that I've played with Rune Factory. So I'm looking forward to this Harvestella. But that is our show. Pete, is there anything you want to leave our listeners with before we send them off into the weekend?
Happy holiday or happy Halloween. Have a good one.
Happy holidays would have worked too.
That's true, but this one's like there's not a whole lot of other holidays besides Halloween really this weekend. True. It's not like when the deeper we get into November, you get all December, you get all the holidays, the whole month and stuff like that. This one, I think most people kind of just celebrate Halloween. Or if you're, from what I remember, I learned from Rocket Power, what was it, like a Mischief Night or whatever? The night before where you go out and play pranks on people and stuff like that. That sounds like something from Ed and Eddie. I'm surprised I don't remember them ever doing an episode, and Rocket Power did. Rocket Power was a good show.
Rocket Power was a really awesome show. I loved that show. But I hope everyone has a good weekend and a Halloween. I'll obviously be, as I've mentioned before, going to my friend's wedding this weekend. So it's going to be a very tiring weekend because of the flight times and all that jazz. But we're going to have a good time because we're celebrating the union of two really good friends. So, everybody, I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you enjoy your weekend. As always, everybody, I've been one of your co-hosts, Jeremy Culver, a.k.a. Darce. This is the California Thirst Quencher, Pete Legia, and we really enjoy bringing this to you. So, as always, everybody, stay hydrated, stay healthy, stay safe, and keep on gaming. We'll see you guys on the next episode.